Julie Gibson Clark, the single mom who's kicking Brian Johnson's ass on the Rejuvenation Olympics leaderboard, while Brian spends $2 million a year on his quest to live forever. Julie only spends 200, while Brian is embarking on all kinds of crazy procedures. Julie's routine is just an average and doable by everyone. But the truth cannot be further from the false narratives perpetuated, which you, dear listener, will learn today. Based on my investigation, Julie, you are far from average. In fact, you are quite exceptional. How do you feel about the media's portrayal of you?
Oh gosh, wow, that one. First of all, I'm not exceptional. I am your average human being getting up, slogging through the day like everybody else. So, and as my dad says, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. Nobody has magic powers. So, let's get that straight. As far as the media's portrayal of me, honestly, I haven't given that much thought. Just my goal in speaking with the media and speaking with you and speaking with people is to help all of humanity just evolve and get a little bit healthier so that all our brains are a little happier, because I think that we've been devolving over the last couple of decades as far as our general health and well-being is concerned. At least I see that in America. And I hope that if I can share with people, hey, you can do these things, and not only will it increase, your health right now, it'll increase your health later in life, maybe help you avoid diseases. Just do these simple behaviors. And that's the message I want to share. So I don't spend too much time kind of, navel gazing, so yeah.
What do you mean by devolving?
Feel like when you look at the health metrics of people, the obesity rates and then all the problems that come with the obesity, and just then you start seeing now the mental health. And somebody, this my personal experience, I know how much my physical health is tied to my mental health. I mean, very, very keenly. And so I have this strong belief that if we can help people's physical health, we will help their mental health. I mean, somebody who wakes up in the morning and feels consistently tired, their bones hurt, their joints hurt, they're going to have a very different day than somebody who wakes up, refreshed, ready to go for the day. They feel strong in their body. Those are two very different mental states that come from those different physical bodies.
I assume you're waking up with a very happy mental state, with a very energetic mental state. But have you been in a state where that wasn't the case?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, definitely. So in my late 30s, early 40s, was after I had my son, and I think he was about 2 or 3. It was unfortunately my brother passed away, and it was kind of like right before my brother passed away, and I was just so tired. I was just like, I don't know how to explain, like, just how I think back on those times, and I feel like I was just this ghost shell of myself, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I couldn't get out of bed, and here I had to take care of, my son was like 2. They're just so freaking cute, and you want to jump and run and play with them, and I just didn't have that energy. And it turned out I had heavy metal poisoning. So that was, then once I was in the process of cleaning that up, it was like, and life just became so much more vibrant, and I had energy in the morning again. I had energy to take care of my son. I just felt like I was a human now, embodying this body instead of this shell.
Well, I'm happy you brought this up, because my understanding is that almost all of us has heavy metal poisoning or very high levels of heavy metal. So Was your pace like different in the sense that it was even higher than the rest of us?
Yeah, I don't have the tests anymore, but like when you do the test, they give you it was a provoked urine test. So they give you a chelator, and then also they're looking at your blood. So they want to see like what's circulating in your blood, and then also what are you chelating out, because a lot of that stuff is just sitting in your joints and in different parts of your body. So you may not be able to measure it in the blood or even with the chelator, but it gives you a kind of a window into what might be happening. So when they did that, I mean, it was like, you know, tungsten, antimony, aluminum, of course, mercury, lead, but they were all in this, like, because they give you this, like, how do you say, like a graph. So it goes from like green to yellow to red. And many of them were like past where you could be, what was even in the red. It was like literally off the charts. And I was a ceramics major for a brief couple of years in college, and I would mix glazes, and I never wore my mask. I ate fish from everywhere. I lived all over the world. I was in the Middle East. I was everywhere. And I was not aware of this concept of like that fish, could have mercury and different metals in them. So I had no idea. And I thought fish was healthy. So I was eating it at every meal, like all the time. And then I had some dental issues that I won't get into here, but that caused some, not at the fault of the dentist or anything, just I had a hole in the root of my tooth, which had a mercury filling. So that was just kind of going straight to my brain. So yes, it was way more than the average person.
So I've done these heavy metal tests as well myself, and my heavy metals are through the roof as well. Like almost everything is in the red. And in fact, whoever I've met, I don't have a huge sample size, but whoever I talked about this, everyone's heavy metal stuff is through the roof. So probably whoever is listening to this is heavy metal levels are to the roof. So, but what did you do? How did you fix that?
Yeah, so I wanted, if anybody, I don't think it's that true that everybody has that. I mean, because I've had my son measured, and, he's got a few things, sure. But, I mean, I was working with a medical doctor too, that specializes in detoxification. She was practicing what we call now functional medicine. And so what would happen on a weekly basis is you go in and you get a chelator, which is like through an IV, and that chelates all the minerals of your body. So it binds to the metals, but it's going to bind to all your, circulating minerals. So now you are minus, calcium, magnesium, all the different things you need. So now you got to go back the next day, and they'll give you, all the minerals that you need in an IV. So you cannot do this on your own. I guess I just can't stress this enough, because there are people that will sell this online, and, suppository EDTA and different things. Like, do not do that. I had an issue one time where my hormones just kind of went completely sideways because they had kind of given me the wrong amount of EDTA. And I can't stress this enough. You can really mess up your body if you don't work with the doctor. So they're monitoring every week, blood tests, like these are the different markers, et cetera. So it's really, really, really important. But it was so I did 12 weeks of chelation, and at about week 6, I was driving home, and I just remember this, like I had this, I didn't know that I had it, but it just was like, maybe there was this fog all around me that I was living in my whole life. I mean, that's the way I thought everyone lived. And all of a sudden it's like my peripheral vision became wider, and I felt like, whoa. I mean, it was the weirdest feeling. I can hardly put words to it. And I just thought, whoa, like something is going on here. And I've never had that fog come back. I mean, it was like this low grade depression I was living with for so many years, and always like, going to therapy, looking for the reason for it. And there was just nothing that could kind of relieve it. And it just turned out to be, I just was walking around with a bunch of toxins. And so, yeah. But again, I'm sure everybody has, like, we all get a toxic load. But the thing that the doctor was working with me and looking at my genetics, so I just have certain genes, that MTHFR gene, where I don't detoxify very well. So I've got to always be using, so like I consistently, try chlorella. That's why I do the saunas. That's why, every so often I'll take charcoal for a month or something, just to kind of constantly help my body detoxify and keep those routes open, which I think is enough for most people. Like if you just kind of Google like natural detoxification methods and you're using more of the greens and the saunas, like I think saunas are supposed to be like amazing. I haven't really done the research, but I've heard.
I'm not sure how good saunas are because I've been doing saunas for a very long time. It's actually available for me at my home, and I yet my heavy metals are still in the roof. So I'd like to ask you, what are your longevity statistics? Your chronological age is, well, 53. I assume it's 54
55.
now.
I'm
55.
55.
Huh?
Yeah, 56 in
Yeah.
October. So I'm 55 and 3/4.
Yeah. And the needle pace 0.665. Is there an update on that?
That's my average. I think I'm 0.65 was my latest test. And I actually think Brian's latest test is lower. I think he's at like 0.64. So, I mean, I think the longer he does this, the slower he'll be able to, yeah. And I'm not really competing with, I'm not a competitor. I'm not that kind of, I was a swimmer my whole life. I think I can remember one race in high school where I thought, like I was really close, like I was swimming backstroke and I could see the girl next to me and I thought, I'm going to beat her. But like that's one out of, I don't know, 10 years of swimming. Other than that, like I'm more about like, I'm going to work out really hard and I'm going to see how well I do. And then can I beat that the next time? I'm more about competing with myself. So like I have a goal of getting to 0.6. But I'm no rush not to beat anybody else out. I don't, not that I don't care about anybody else on the leaderboard, but I don't care to compete with anybody on the leaderboard. It's for me and my life and how I feel.
And did you beat her?
Yeah, I did. I did. And my dad actually happened to be at that race. This was in high school, so it was kind of during his work day, but it was funny. So it was a time when he wouldn't come, but he happened to be there and he was like walking along the side of the pool. And because they had put me in the outside lane, which is where they put the slow people, and I was just like, I am going to win this. Like, I don't care, like yes, I can still remember how my legs felt after that race. I could like barely stand when I got out of the pool. Anyway.
I was thinking of something interesting that, the needle pace, of course, in the research correlates with many clinical outcomes, but we don't really know what's going on at the level that you're at, right? Like, we don't have research at people who's doing so well in the needle pace. I'm not sure if we have a value capture or when do we have a value capture here, right? Because if you look at the extreme here is that when you freeze yourself, right? They are the people who are winning the race.
I'm not going to do that. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Did you do other pace of aging or some aging clocks tests?
I did. There was something I did on the internet. Let me see. I think I might have taken a screenshot, and it was based on the Horvath clocks, and that didn't say pace of aging, but it shot back an age of like 41, I think. But that was based on, all these different blood markers, liver. Excuse me while I look for this. But and I thought, yeah, that's I kind of feel like if I woke up tomorrow and I didn't know my age and somebody asked me, I'd say, I feel somewhere between like 38 and 43, somewhere around there. And then I've done the VO2 max and DEXA scan, and that one also says I'm about 41. So that again, not a pace of aging, but that feels right to me, you know? And I also like what I like about the VO2 max and the DEXA scan, like that's something you really have to work for. You know, the pace of aging is a great measure. And I love knowing that because it's a guide for me as like, hey, how hard are you living your life? Like, are you, you know, smoking, and which I don't, I never have, but like, are you stressing yourself out on a daily basis, or are you managing the stress that's coming at you? You know, are you doing what you can to take care of your body? Those kind of things. That's what the pace of aging means to me, really.
What kind of vices do you have? Like you never smoke, but other things?
My vice, well, I don't know if it's a vice because I'm just not going to make it wrong. I eat bread. I know a lot of people are like no grains, you know, and they say that's one thing they say on the press, like I eat a low carb diet, and I guess I do. I definitely do, but like I will never, ever, ever give up bread, like ever. Like ever. I've tried all the substitutes. I've made my own stuff. I've tried all of it, and it's just nothing compares to a good loaf of sourdough bread. You know, it's just like, I'm not going to give it up. It was like somewhere a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm not playing this game. I'm going to have bread. So that's fine. But I don't eat it every day. You know, like it's like something I have, if I have it during the week, like I think I had I don't know, some kind of chicken sausage last night. And I was like, oh, I just really want one of these with a piece of bread, you know? So, but mostly during the week, I'm pretty careful, and it's kind of no grains, low carb. But then on the weekends, I enjoy myself. My other vice is definitely sugar and baking. I'm a cook, and I can't even imagine my life without baking. And I do a lot of the substitutes, you know, I bake with, but I'm not about substitute baking so much. Like I'll look at, like when I got into gluten-free, I started researching a lot of like what cultures were already cooking, baking gluten-free. So I'm sure, as you're aware, in Eastern Europe, you know, like all the different nut flours that people have been using for years, I thought were so interesting. So I started baking with those, you know, many years ago. I'm a natural explorer and cook. And so I'm always looking for the healthiest recipes from around the world that have been that way, instead of trying to substitute, you know, oh, use all this, I don't know, flax flour, and like I just not had too much success with that kind of stuff. So yeah, so my vices: ice cream for sure, bread, and I guess that's about it. I do want to share this with people too. So like on the weekends, I kind of relax a little, but it's not like I go eat a dozen donuts. I don't crave any of that stuff anymore. I just don't have any commitments to how I'm going to structure my days. I mean, I just try to get to the gym and get a sauna in. That's like the only thing I have to do. The rest of it, I just enjoy with my family. I just, you know, maybe don't have as much of the bad things in front of me. And also the last 2 weeks of the year. So this came up recently in an interview. So I think it's important to share, like, one, I'm not perfect at anything that I say I do. If I give you my daily schedule, I'm never perfect at it. Like I'll never hit it, but I will consistently hit it, if that makes sense. So like last weekend we were away, and normally on Monday I should have done my VO2 max, and Tuesday I would have done my full body workout. Well, because of the things that happened this weekend, I just couldn't get to that VO2 max on Monday. So, you know, hey, that shifted to Tuesday. And then Thursday I did my full body workouts, which means now I won't do a second one. But it's like, so it's never like perfect, but I will consistently always go back to those schedules. That's number one. Number two, I have this policy the last 2 weeks of the year. So around the holidays, I do whatever I want. Like I have no commitments to like anything. I eat whatever I want. If I don't feel like working out, I don't go work out. I don't do, like, I think it's important for me, especially because I'm kind of a natural rebel, to have these spaces where I know I'm not going to do this stuff and I'm just going to completely live and enjoy. And usually somewhere around like December 28th, 29th, I'm so sick of all the, you know, feasting and not working out that I can't wait to like get back at it. And it reinvigorates me. It reminds me like, hey, this is why I'm doing this thing. So I don't know why I feel like it's important to share that. That's, I guess if I were to have vices, it would be then. I don't drink anymore because I just, Like, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. I just don't, it literally just does not work for me. I will be up all night with hot flashes. I feel like crap the next day. It's just, I don't have whatever I need to digest alcohol anymore. So I don't drink it.
Yeah, for some reason I understand what you're talking about. I'm from Hungary, right? Eastern Europe. It's like everyone's drinking here from since the time they are 14 years old, right? so but at one point around maybe 5 to 6 years ago, I just stopped drinking and I don't crave it at all. And going to all these kind of family meetings where everyone's drinking a lot, I don't, and I don't know why. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Um,
I have the occasional glass of champagne, and that doesn't
yeah,
seem to set
yeah.
me back too much, but any heavy hard alcohol, and I've never liked beer, so that's just not a pop. And the wine that started like in menopause. That my hot flashes with wine that was crystal clear, like red wine, would give me hot flashes. So I just don't. It's just not pleasant in any way.
So you've discussed day in your life already, but can you go into in details like how does an ideal day in your life look like?
Yeah. Okay. So 5 a.m. wake up. Actually, lately it's been about 5:30, just because it's summer. I'm going to bed a little later. So about 5:30, wake up. I sit with a cup of green tea, as you can see here, and I read the Bible and just sort of pray and try to just kind of relax into my day. I've usually got my gym bag ready, so I do that for about an hour, and then I'm off to the gym and then go work out, and I hit the sauna. And in the winter, it's a cold shower. This is Arizona, so like we're at 100, 110 these days. So the groundwater just isn't, there's no cold showers to be had. And I haven't looked into cold plunges or anything yet, but ideally there would be followed by a cold shower. So, and then after that, come home. I usually have some greens, so that like I'll have something with like these fermented greens with like chlorella. And then lately I've been getting into this beet kvass. I don't know if you've had that there, but
Like,
it's
what's
like
that?
it's a fermented drink made from beets. It's really, really lovely. I got that from Casey Means Good Energy. She was talking about it in her book, and I thought, let me try making this. So at any rate, so that's at about like 9 o'clock, I think. Yeah. And in about 10, I'm going back down and I make, depending on the winter, if it's winter or summer, and right now it's summer. So I'm going to go make a smoothie usually. And I usually put about 4 ounces of greens, a lot of berries in there. I think, I don't remember. It's usually like a cup of berries or something, and some bone broth and protein powder, another like 20 grams of protein, and mix that up. And that's kind of holds me for at least another an hour or two. And then I'll go back down. It's usually around 11 noon. I will go and get a bowl of vegetables. I just have these like white bowls and I fill it, and it's usually around 8 to 10 ounces of veggies. The greens is usually about 4 ounces. I'm shooting for like a pound of vegetables a day, but making half of that greens. So anyway, so it's usually just like celery and radishes and jicama. I try to mix it up based on what's available. And that with my Novos, and then some protein source. So made chicken the other day. So we had like chicken breast left over. I'll just make sure I have that. Some days it's eggs, just like 3 soft-boiled eggs or medium, whatever, medium yolk eggs. And other days it's this chicken sausage I found that seems to be pretty healthy. So some protein source. And then that's kind of it until dinner. But and then I sit down I'm working obviously, and then at 1 o'clock I sit down and meditate, and I've been doing that since like 2019, the TM meditation, and that's usually about 20 minutes, and then I get back up, work until 4 or 5, depending on the day, and then go down and make dinner. And like I said, I have a teenager at home, so I cook anything and everything, whatever he wants. We most nights he's kind of getting into his health, and so he prefers healthier foods as well. Like tonight we're going to make roast lamb, and we're going to have broccoli and roast lamb and potatoes. That'll be our dinner tonight. Let's see what else. And then 9 o'clock, lights out, bed. Lately it's been about 9:30. Oh, and I've added, like, now I'm adding this walk in the evening too. I don't know, I'm just kind of, I thought, oh, maybe I'll walk in the heat, like once the sun goes down, and it's still like 100 degrees at night. So I've been walking for like a half an hour to an hour in the evening, just, I don't know, calm down. I put on some really calming piano music, and I'm just trying to like calm down. Summers are, I feel like I don't know, because of the sun is out longer. I feel like it's harder to calm down. And get to bed on time. So I just thought, let me try these walks in the heat. And then when I come back in, and of course our house is cooler, and I've had the music's kind of calm me down. It's just a lot easier to go to bed. So
What's with your sleep? So if you go to sleep at 9 and wake up at 5:30, you don't seem to be sleeping much.
yeah, so I sleep 8 hours. So it's like I go to bed anywhere between 9 and 9:30. And like I said, I'm pretty good at just kind of going out, and then I'm up at 5:30. So that's 8 hours. I'm pretty careful about that 8 hours. And, sometimes things happen, and I've got morning appointments I've got to get to. So I've got to back that out a little bit. Or some days, again, I've got a teenager who wants to stay out till 11. And so, and I make sure that he's home okay. So, he's been gracious enough to come home at 9 on the weeknights, even though it's summer for him right now. So it's been really very sweet of him. And then on the weekends, he goes out till like 11. But yeah.
When I was a teenager, we went to the city to party every weekend. And my mom came to me around 2 to 3 a.m. at night, like almost every weekend. I was like, I don't understand how she was waking up just to come in like 20 minutes ride or 30 minutes ride and then back. Probably not the best for her longevity.
Probably, but the trade-off is that worrying about you is also not so good for her longevity. Like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, I'm going to worry. Like, that's the nature of motherhood. And I've been working a lot on that. But if I can do something to help and, make sure he's okay, then I'm going to do that. So.
But yeah, crazy things will happen.
They will. They have. Trust me.
I also have a sorrow and another one coming next month. So
congratulations.
I'm not going to get away from the crazy things. How did you end up here? So what's the adventure of your life? What's your life story?
It is an adventure. It has been definitely an adventure. Oh boy. So I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. My father was an astronaut on Skylab 3. So I was born in 68 and he flew in 73. So we lived there until 75. And we moved out to California. We moved a lot for his job because after his flight, he was working on what would become the space shuttle and the space station program. And because his flight was 84 or 87 days. At the time, that was like the longest anybody had been in space. He had the record well into, I think, the 80s. Or his crew. And so a lot of people wanted him to be involved in projects because they were planning on people being longer in space. Plus, he has a degree in physics. He's, at any rate, he was one of the first scientists hired. So there was all these like military guys up until then, doing the Apollo programs. And now they wanted to start studying things in space. So they created the Skylab program. His was the fourth mission. So there were three crews before him. The one right before his mission was to repair. It was an unplanned mission. But anyway, so that had us in Houston. Then we moved to California for a year. And then we moved to Germany when I was young. I was like 7 or 8. We lived there a little over a year, and then we moved back to Texas. And then he was with NASA for many years then. And that's when I got into swimming. Just, I don't know, young kid. And then I'm trying to think, at some point, I think it was around like 81, he decided to leave NASA and go work for a consulting firm in California. So we moved back to California, and right place, right time. I was in LA in the early 80s, and punk rock was a thing. And it was just like, just like my world. I was a teenager, not so nice to my mom. Anyway, out all the time, and had such a great time growing up there. That was so fun. Absolutely funnest time of my life. And then went to college in Central California, Cal Poly, and majored in engineering. I was a structural engineer. So I did architectural engineering officially, which is just building engineering, specializing specifically in that. I took a little while in college. I switched majors about 4 times and switched schools. So anyway, graduated, became a structural engineer. I was a bridge engineer and realized 4 years into it, I hated it. Engineering wasn't for me. So I just went in and quit one day, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I had turned 30, and I had been married, divorced, walked into my job, said, I'm not doing this anymore. This was all in 36 months. So I just, married, divorced, quit my job, and was told I had 2 lumps in my left breast. I had been moving also a little bit, like changing apartments and things. And then a man tried to kidnap me at knife point. And this is also from age like 29 to 32. And I was very, 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 very stressed out, obviously. And I went to the doctor because I had severe acid reflux. And so she just said, here's some Tagamet or some medication, and you just take that the rest of your life. And I just thought, this didn't seem right. I just never seemed right to me to just take a pill every day. I was already on an antidepressant, and which, was necessary at the time, but it had been over a year, and I was already asking her hey, I think I can come off of this. And it was just sort of like, you take a medication and you take it the rest of your life. And I just my intuition just said something's wrong, especially when it came to acid reflux. It just felt like, well, it's probably something I'm eating that's causing that problem, not really being aware of the extent of the stress I was under and what that was doing to me. So at any rate, it moved me to kind of go seek a second opinion from a naturopath, because I thought, well, this is in Portland, Oregon. There's a naturopathic school there, and it's just kind of widespread, and a lot of my friends were exploring this. And so I thought, let me go see what they have to say. And she said, get off all wheat and dairy. And within a couple of weeks, I had no more acid reflux. Absolutely, the stress hadn't changed. I mean, I did learn that I didn't have any breast cancer, which was great. And this guy, it took him a few months before they found the guy and put him in jail. So that worked. And when I went back at 2 weeks and said, hey, this is great, my 2-week checkup. And she said, well, if you want to try to get off the antidepressant, we can do that too. And so she put me on a protocol that would help me get off that, safely. And that worked. And so this is, age 30, 32. I was just floored that, nutraceuticals would have as much of an impact on my health and my mental health, especially as a medication. And so I just knew somewhere in there, there's something to this, wow. So it just made a very strong impression on me. And also that what I ate would impact how I feel as well. And so I tried to, at that point, I started working out, and I was probably about 40 plus pounds more than I am now. I don't know what that is in kilos, but and I just slowly started losing weight and feeling good. I started working out. And so I just was very, very healthy at that point. So when age 40 hit and I had my son at 38, I was living in Dubai. So the other thing is I've moved all around. Like where I've lived kind of needs a like PowerPoint presentation and infographics because it's just been everywhere. At any rate, I was in Dubai at the time and then moved home. And somewhere around 40, that's when my hair was falling out. I felt horrible. And that's when I learned I had the heavy metal poisoning. And in the process of doing that, while we were doing it, the doctor just said, because I was on a vegan diet at that time too. So again, I was thinking, why am I so tired? I'm on this great diet. I should feel amazing. And just did not. And she said, yeah, it's not working for you. And here's why, and try these. And we could see real time, like when I added things back to my diet, how it was impacting different, like my B12 and other nutrient levels. So again, I just learned really clearly, whoa, like what you eat, nutraceuticals, like they can really profoundly impact how you feel and then consequently your mental health. So, so that was like at 40, and I've just been doing that ever since. Like once we chelated all the metals to like a safe place. I mean, I still have all the metals, like you said, I still got them all, but I thought that's a lot. Like that's a lot of different metals. Most people kind of walk around with mercury and lead, but I think because of the ceramics, I have all these other weird ones. So I was looking for ways to constantly detoxify, just on a low grade way, help my body detoxify. So I, was always researching different doctors, and there's Dr. Klinger, Dr. Mercola, there's Russell Blaylock at the time. So again, this is 15 years ago, and was so grateful that the internet was a thing at that point. And then I found Rhonda Patrick with Found My Fitness when she created her podcast. And at any rate, just kind of started following all these doctors. And then I learned about fasting and how the impact that had on detoxification. And then Walter Longo came out with this fasting mimicking diet and then tied that to longevity. And that was kind of the first time I heard about like I switched from detoxification to longevity and starting to think about, and now, my son's a little older and I'm started thinking like, I mean, his whole life, like I know I'm the plan and the backup plan. If something happens to me, I mean, of course we have loving relatives and his dad or people that would help, but it would mean like his dad lives in another country. And so it would just mean a lot for him. And I didn't want to put him through that. So I'm very careful about everything. But that was the first time I sort of started thinking about like, I can not only do these healthy practices to feel good now, that they would make an impact on how long I would live. Now, fast forward to now, and I know what I know about longevity and then senolytics and all those things. And I'm watching my parents, they're in their mid 80s, 85, 86. And my mom is developing Parkinson's, and my dad has just a little bit of dementia or forgetful. I guess it's just kind of just forgetfulness, and which is just, I mean, anybody who has aging parents is just like, oh, like I love them so much. I don't want to ever lose them, much less have any time with them while they're alive to be any, diminished and have them be in pain in any way. So it's just, it spurs me on to keep doing what I'm doing so that my son doesn't, have to face that, or, I mean, for me, the goal is just to go like have this health span that's going to go like this. And then it's like, okay, now life's over, and like hopefully that level, that drop is like 1 year or like 1 year max, so that's, I mean, obviously I can't control everything, but that's my intention and what I'm doing. So
so many things.
Just don't start asking me all the places I've lived, because it's like just chalk it up. I've lived in New Orleans, I've lived in Oregon, I've lived in California, I've lived in Texas, Germany, Dubai, Doha. I've lived everywhere.
What about Asia? What about Asia?
No, I haven't. And I've only been to Bangkok one time. I had an absolute lovely time in Thailand. It was one of such a wonderful vacation. But yeah, no, not yet. I would like to go to Japan. Korea is really like, really want to spend some time in Korea. But anyway.
So you mentioned that you were in engineering in university and you didn't like it and you dropped it, which might actually not even be a bad decision because there is a theory that science kind of stagnated and the only field that was worth going into in university is computer science and everything else just churning out all the scientists and not getting work. But but how did you get from engineering to cooking? You said you're a cook, or is just a hobby, or is that your trade?
No, oh gosh, no, no, it's just a hobby. Absolutely not. No, I'm a recruiter now. I recruit structural engineers. So it's been lovely. When I left engineering, I was a printer. My hobby was printing. My hobby was cooking too, and I worked in restaurants. But I quickly realized I did not want to work in restaurants for a career. It's a lot of work and not a lot of payback for the work that you put in. So I just thought, not for me. But I was printing on one of those old printing presses, those letter presses. The ones with like the big flywheel, like, and you would type set. Fun fact, here's a fun story. So I was learning how to set the type and print like that. And I was showing my sister what I was doing. I was living in Oregon and I'd come out to Arizona where my parents were living, and I was showing, and she said, "Oh, you mean the kind with like the letters?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "Oh yeah, that's what Grandpa used to do. He manufactured letters." So there's sort of like a weird family story. My grandfather, and I knew my grandfather had a business, and that business, my dad was supposed to take over that business, but he decided to, pursue his PhD. And it was kind of like, it was like this family, I don't know, sadness or what, like it wasn't a happy thing that he wasn't going to take over the business. And then of course, he went on with his career and had great success, and his parents of course are proud of him, but I never knew what Grandpa had done for his business. And then I learned that somehow, like, he manufactured letterpress, the little type, all those little pieces of type. That's what his business was started. And it was started by my great grandfather, that business. And at any rate, I just thought it was so weird how like these things are in your DNA somehow. But anyway, so that was my business. I became a graphic designer and a printer, and I worked all over the world on like specialty, like high-end weddings. And so I did wedding invitations, I did wedding design, that kind of stuff. It was an interesting career. And I think 20 years into it, I don't know, I wasn't feeling very excited about it, and opened myself up on LinkedIn, and my current boss reached out to me and said, "Do you want to help engineers?" And it's just been such a blessing to go back to engineering in some capacity and help other engineers like me. I was, 4 years into it, kind of going, what am I doing? This isn't for me. And we specialize in helping people come up with kind of non-traditional careers. I mean, we do the traditional stuff too, but so it's been really, really, really rewarding, very rewarding to help people like that.
So like how exactly you said HR, engineering HR? I still don't understand that part. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm a recruiter. So I look for engineers that are looking for new careers. So and we specialize in engineers that are doing building buildings. And here's a window that nobody really cares about, but I'm sure you probably can edit this all out because I don't think anybody cares about this. But
I think a lot of people care about.
They take on a lot of responsibility. They're signing the documents that this building is going to stand up, and they're working, I remember I used to work sometimes 1, 2 in the morning, an architect makes a change, and now you got to like change all your stuff. So now, and some jobs include overtime, some don't. So your pay is not real commensurate with the time in and the responsibilities. It's something that if you love, you can certainly make a living at and enjoy doing. But I was not in a place where I loved it, and I couldn't see anything different. But now it turns out there are all these like non-traditional. So we work on, say, for instance, like there is a there's a nonprofit out there called Woodworks, and they specialize in promoting the use of wood in construction. So for instance, I don't know if you've heard about like all the wood skyscraper, like they're making skyscrapers from wood now, and they use all this. I won't get into the technology. Just it's a very interesting concept because now you've got something that's supposedly better for the environment. I won't get into that debate. Let people do their own research, but it's very interesting. So now they're looking for somebody who understands how to build a building to go out and talk with other engineers. So they have to be an engineer. Typically, they have to be what's called a professional engineer, which means you've taken all the certification to sign documents. But they're not going to sign any documents, and they're just going to go out and talk to engineers and promote the use of wood in construction and how you can use this over steel. So that's like one typical career path. And so what we do is like find those engineers that are so, they're tired of working the late nights. They're kind of looking at the responsibility they're taking on and going, not for me, and put them in this non-traditional career. And it just like everybody, said, like people that we place in those roles usually send us thank you. Oh, this has been the greatest change and I love it. And, so it's really fun. That's just kind of one example.
All right, sounds rewarding. What about the people that you're in a relationship with? Like, who are you spending the most time with?
Of course, my son, like 100%, because he still lives at home, thank God. And I'm just trying to, he'll be a senior in high school next year. So I'm just trying to drink up as much time as I can with him. Because I think once he goes off to college, I plan on kind of doing a lot of traveling, and eventually I'll move back overseas, but I don't know where that'll be. And may do like a 6 months here, 6 months there while he's in college at any rate. So I know that, our time together is limited. So I'm just trying to drink that up. And I've got a best friend here who's lovely. And again, from living all over the world, I've got people all over the world. So a lot of my relationships are, online and text messaging here and there and catching up. And then my family, my parents live here and my older brother lives here. So I'm go down to the barbecue at my brother's house tomorrow with my parents. And that's about it. I'm kind of introverted, honestly, like, on that scale of, do you recharge alone or, with people? And for sure alone. That's what that morning time for me is, like that time to just charge my batteries, kind of get set for the day. But I always say I'm an introvert who enjoys a good party. I need like one party a month or one social, event a month. Then I need a little bit of socialization. I can't just, but yeah.
I would like to ask you about your philosophy, your personal philosophy, your mindset. What makes you tick? I assume, so many people, when they have their kids, they are not asking these questions. When they have their children, because like they have to go on and do the stuff. But now you are getting to a stage where your child is growing up and needs new lessons. That's what makes you tick.
What makes me tick? Oh gosh, that is a great question. I have to think about that. What makes me tick? I mean, for sure, helping people. And it's like I said, like in my career, in as a recruiter, like I absolutely love helping people connecting. Like I always say, like I was a bridge engineer first, but I'm still a bridge engineer. It's like I feel like I'm always that person that connects people. Like I hope, like in this health thing, if people come to me with questions, I'm certainly not capable of answering them on the level of like the science, but I can connect them to, hey, you need to go read this book, or you need to go talk to that doctor, so I feel like I'm still building bridges, for people. That's how I am. Yeah. So as far as what makes me tick, yeah, I think for sure, my son, and that'll be forever. I mean, even though he leaves the house, I won't stop helping him or caring for him or, cheering him on, being that cheerleader. But helping others is very, very important to me. I feel like we need to be of service to each other on this planet, all of us, because we all have something to share and something to connect. So,
Are you religious?
yeah, I'm Catholic by choice. Yeah.
And Catholic in a way that I'm Catholic, but I'm not really.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a cafeteria Catholic, but I did so I grew up Lutheran, and like I said, my dad was in space. His brother was the minister, so we had to go to church. And God bless my uncle. I love him. May he rest in peace. But we, the kids in Sunday school will be talking about God, and he's up there, and I'm thinking he is not there. Like my dad has pictures, like I got pictures, like there is just stars and planets, and there is nothing. There's no man in a blue robe with a cane up there. I know it. So I was very skeptical very early on, and somewhere in high school I got into Buddhism, and it just really was calming and peaceful for me. I'm always, I don't know if this comes off, but I'm a pretty hyper. Like I'm looking back, I probably had ADHD, but I'm just a hyper person. And thank God I was a swimmer and, had things to do. But so when I found Buddhism too, that was just like very calming for my whole body when I would read about it and study it. And I just kept following that until my son was no, actually, no, it was before I had my son, somewhere in my 30s. I just kept thinking I wanted a set of practices that would remind me that there's something bigger than me, that it was, I knew. And I think this kind of came out of being a little depressed and working with therapists and like realizing, like when you realize there's something bigger than you, that my bad day is just a tiny little teeny tiny, I don't know, cog in this whole thing, and that tomorrow is another day. It's a lot easier to kind of get through those times. And I would always return again and again to, religion and looking at like what, like, let me back up. Like, I think that most people would agree that there's some bigger force at play out there. I mean, like I always joke, like on the Star Wars, they talk about the force, may the force be with you. But it's like there is something, and nobody knows what it is. And maybe we just don't know until we die, or maybe we will figure that out in another 500 years. But right now we don't know what it is. And every time I remember that, I feel so much better. Like I feel like tomorrow's another day and all of those things. So when I connect to that, I just feel right with the world. And so I just became and this was actually, I think, with the work of a therapist, like, well, what are a set of practices you can do to always remember that? And I would look at Judaism. I was looking, and then because I lived in the Middle East, obviously I looked at Islam. But every time when I was in Europe, I found that the cathedrals there were where I felt most at home, like this profound sense of peace and inspiration as well. Because when you sit in those cathedrals, again, being an engineer, I'm looking all around and going, wow, these people spent their entire lives, generations building these things, and the space in there. It's just, I could just go on and on about how much I obsess over cathedrals. But it was the place that I just sat and felt like I'm at home. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I knew my mom was Catholic, and I knew that I had to be Catholic in order to take communion there. And communion was also an important, to me, that felt like a very important practice that I wanted to continue. I knew from being Lutheran. So when my son had to do his catechism, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do my catechism. These are the practices. There are so many traditions. It's rich with just beauty and all the feast days and all of those things that I can take part in, would give me that constant and consistent memory that there is a force, a God, something there that's kind of like that universal energy of love, and which isn't always sunshine and roses, but yeah, that's so I did the catechism again. It just always felt very, very, every step along the way felt very, very right. And then I did Bible in a year a few years ago. And then a couple of years ago, I did the catechism in a year, and really taking a whole year to go through the catechism. And I would say that I agreed with about 90% of it, but there's a few places where I think, I'm not necessarily super Catholic. I'm still my own person. Like there's a quote, and I'm going to misquote this, by Albert Einstein, about this beautiful quote that sounds sort of sad, but then when you look at it, it's all about like, don't ever, just because I do this thing, don't associate everything about that group with me. So even though I'm Catholic, I like to tell people I'm a cafeteria Catholic, because I don't necessarily buy into everything that, and I feel like that's healthy. They're not the experts. I'm sorry, but they're not, nor is a Buddhist, nor is Islam. Nobody's the expert on God, because sorry, we're not dead, so.
There certainly is a very deep spirituality inside you.
For sure.
Okay, so let's switch back a bit about longevity. I haven't asked about your environment there. What kind of environment are you existing in? Like, are you doing things like circadian lighting, or the sleep temperature regulation, or have you done this kind of tweaks in your house, or it's just a normal house?
The normal house, we do have like, I have very low grade air filters in every room. It's not the kind of like, not hospital grade. It's just like an affordable solution that it's more to control the desert dust than in anything, but that's soon. I do have a whole house water filter. I'm pretty keen on that one. When I was living in Dubai, I kind of did a bunch of research on some of the water runoff that gets into the water, and there you can see it impacts your hair for sure. Most people notice that. And here we have really hard water. And so I just was like, screw it, let's put a whole house filter. And then I've got an RO filter. I don't do anything with lighting or temperature. I mean, right now, again, it's hot and I can only afford so much of an AC bill. Plus I don't think it's good for the environment to, so we keep our house at like 80, 78, 80 degrees, which I think for a lot of people might be hot, and I don't, as much as I would love one, I don't have an 8 sleep or any of that kind of stuff yet. So we just sleep with less covers and fans, and that's about it. Yeah.
How many PRs do you take a day?
Well, I'll go through I don't know how many it is. I've never sat and counted them, but these are the things that I've been taking for 2 decades almost. D3K2, a D3K2 mix, so 5,000 IU. And I've been taking that, I don't know, since my 30s, since I worked with the naturopath way back when. I do vitamin B complex, been doing that since the heavy metal poisoning. That again is just the activated B complex to help my body detoxify. I do fish oil, the DHA and EPA. I try to get anywhere between 1,600 and 2,000 milligrams of that a day. I am on hormone replacement therapy, so I'm doing the bioestrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, those are all kind of separate. And then we're working, because I would like to up my estrogen, so we're now working with pregnenolone. We're trying pregnenolone versus upping my estrogen to see if that'll help different levels. So, and I take the Novos, and during the study, I was taking Novos Core and Novos Boost, and Novos Boost is just NMN. And before that study, I was experimenting a little bit with NR, and I loved, it just felt a little better for me. After the study was over, I wanted to try NR again, and I'm on NR. I find that's, I just feel a little bit more energetic. Like the NMN doesn't seem to give me the boost that NR does. So I'm on NR. And then, which is nicotinamide riboside. I think most people know that out there. And then right now, I have added quercetin at night. I do a quercetin bromelain at night. And then I take, I'm just experimenting. I want to see if that has any impact. And then I'm doing berberine after, like, again, because I do eat bread on the weekends, or I'll have, ice cream. So I'll take like a berberine with that in hopes of helping my blood sugar. So that's about it. And the Novos just, is a combination of supplements. And I think people can look up what's in there, but there's like fisetin, there's glycine, there's magnesium, there's a bunch of other things. And I take magnesium. I include the Novos in this, but I try to get 400 to 600 milligrams a day. That was something that came out in the heavy metal poisoning, that I'm pretty chronically deficient in magnesium.
This Nova supplement is interesting because it is trying to target the hallmarks of longevity, right? There was other Rejuvenation Olympics 2018 place Steven Shore. He's also doing the same thing, trying to target the hallmarks of aging with his supplement stack, but the difference is that he's some kind of guru of traditional Chinese medicine, Indian Ayurveda, and this kind of herb stuff. So he's trying to put together all kinds of herbs to target the hallmarks of longevity. Anyhow, what I would like to know, that you mentioned the study. So as I understand, you have a pretty good place on the relative Rejuvenation Olympics leaderboard as well, not only on the absolute one, right? So this study has corresponded with the relative Rejuvenation leaderboard gains that you made, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I took, with the Novo study, we did a test at 0, so I hadn't taken any Novo, so that's the 0.76. So clearly, like, 0.76 is a decent score, and that's probably, because of the B vitamins and the things I was doing ahead of time. And like I said, I had tried NR here and there, and then I started taking Novos, and at somewhere around 6 months, these aren't exact, but it was about 6 months, took another test after taking Novos Core and Boost for 6 months, and that lowered my score to 68%, so 0.68. I really want to stress this, because I'm not affiliated with them. It's just a product I take. I don't make money from them. They don't pay me, nothing. But those 6 months were so very stressful, and they involve, I cannot divulge what was going on, but it was I was definitely not sleeping. I was not, greens, vegetables, none of that. I was lucky if I'd get an In-N-Out burger every few days. It was a very, very stressful time for me. We were able to resolve that. And around August of that year, and they said, "Hey, it's time for your next test." And I was like, I am so stressed out right now. I do not want to take this test. What are you talking? This is not. And they're like, "It's okay. This is what the study is for, and just take it." And so I came home and tried to just relax for just give me a couple of days to calm down. And I took the test, and I was not expecting my pace of aging to go down. Certainly not by 8 points. So that's when I speak to Novos being so, I was just like I am a lifelong customer. This is such a great product. And I just, there's so many products in the longevity market, and I don't know how many of them are efficacious, but this one, I know, at least for me and my biology, it works. And so then once that stress was, I don't want to say over, but it was in a place where I could now kind of get on with things. And so that's when I started the second 6 months. That's when I started the workouts. I joined the gym in November of that year and started working out, started doing the saunas and cold showers, not for longevity. They were just helping me with my stress and depression. And then took at like in June. So I started out in like November. So June took that last test, and that was at 0.65. So that only, those practices, albeit that is a chunk, 3%, the Novas alone did 8%. So not to try to sound like I'm overly selling it, that's just a fact. Like that is a fact. And because the only thing I was definitely not meditating. I mean, all the stuff I tell you, I was not doing any of that for sure.
Yeah, we might have a longer conversation with Chris Miracle.
Yeah,
I
I
think
hope
that's
you
his
do.
name
Yeah,
from
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him yet. We've just emailed a few things because people reach out to Novos to try to find me, and but I haven't met him yet, which I think is kind of good because just keeps it.
You can claim that you are not affiliated.
I know I'm really not. I mean, I really want people to believe that. I make zip. I have nothing to gain by telling you that. It's just a fact. Those are the facts.
Although if you would be smart, then you could get a lifetime supply if Novos negotiated at this point.
I'm just not like that. I'm not like that kind of person, but I am working on some things. I'm working on, a website and those kind of things, and I'll at some point, negotiate affiliate links and all of those things, but in hopes that I could get those discounts for the people that are coming to me, not for me, but for others. So, but that's down the line. We'll see.
All right. What about exercise, movement? How do you move?
So right now I'm doing a lot of walking in the heat. But usually my week, I say this. So like, I'm a big fan of like having a very strict schedule. And then I'm also a big fan of breaking it every so often. So let me give you my very strict schedule that I'm usually on. I would say 11 months out of the year. On Mondays is my VO2 max day. So that's a Norwegian 4x4, which you go slow for 3 minutes and then as hard as you possibly can for 4 minutes. And you do that 4 times. So that's about 28 minutes. Then I take 2 minutes to cool down. I work my abs on that day, sauna, cold shower, or whatever kind of shower I can get these days. And then Tuesday, I do full body workout with weights, and I usually try to use a lot of free weights so that it's like my range of motion is open and I have to kind of work to keep it in check. I'm one of these people that's very, very limber and wiggly. So anyway, I have to work really hard at that. And then Wednesday is just like a zone 2 cardio and abs as well, and sauna. On Tuesday after the weight workout, I'm doing it at a different gym and there's no sauna. And then, so Wednesday I'm doing a sauna. Thursday I do a zone 2 cardio and a sauna. And then either Friday or Saturday, I'll do full body weights, but now I'm using machines that limit the range of motion, and I'm able to be a lot stronger on those machines. And I just think it's because my way my body works. But anyway, and then, a sauna, a cold shower, even after that weight. I just feel good doing it. So that's what I do. So that's my typical movement schedule. And like I said, I've added this evening walk, which I'm really, really liking. It's anywhere from a half hour to an hour, depending on how much time I have and all of that. But it's summer break for my son. And so for those zone 2 cardio days, instead of going to the gym and doing the sauna, I've just been walking. I mean, and try, like some days I think yesterday I got in like 18,000 steps, so it's been really, I don't track a lot of stuff. I don't have all the trackers. I don't have an Oura ring. I don't have any, all that stuff, but I do bring my phone with me and my phone tracks. So it's somewhat accurate how many steps I'm getting a day. But, so it's just been kind of fun to switch it up a little and not always be in the gym, and makes me feel like I'm on summer vacation a little bit and just walking different places or hiking or something like that.
If I think about it, I don't think I have, ever since I have the Oura ring, I don't think I have a single day when I made 80,000 steps. So that's big. That's big. I've been doing something out of the ordinary. in your routine, like, do you have like plasma transfusion or something that people don't tend to do?
No, no, I'm very intrigued, like, by what people are doing. I'm just opening that door, like, Dave Pasco just went for exosomes or something. I'm like, what even is that? Like, I'm associating that with like the skeleton of like crickets, and I'm like, what is that? Like, what is this? So, or the plasma. I'm intrigued. I think it's really, really interesting. But quite honestly, I mean, I'm about to send a kid to college. I don't have that. I don't have that kind of
Maybe the
disposable
media is
income.
right. Maybe the media is right.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're very relatable. That's for
Oh,
sure.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I don't have the money for that. And um, so I've consequently just really not studied it whatsoever. Um, and quite honestly, if I have some extra income right now, I'm more interested in, um, I'd really like to have some kind of wearable so that when I'm doing the VO2 max, I'm just using, like, they have heart rate monitors on the step mill, that I'm using. And, I try to use the same one every time, so I hope, like, okay, at least I'm sure it's not accurate in any way, but it is what it is. I'm sure it's close. At least I figure the difference is really what matters, so, anyway, so I don't have a wearable. I'd like to do that. That's in a CGM. Those are the two fun things I would like to get, but I don't have anything. I don't do any of that stuff. We did do some HBOT way back, probably before I even started the Novo study. I had done a few sessions. It was for my son, and I thought, oh, let me try this. And I thought, wow, this is really nice. It was very nice walking out of there, just like, wow. Like, I did my meditation in there, and I was like, and you come out and you're just like all your skin is glowing, and like even my mom's like, whoa, you look amazing, So I would love to have something, if I were a bazillionaire, I'd have a HBOT in my house for sure. And I'd look more into those plasma things. I don't know, I don't know if anybody out there, any of your listeners, you can donate plasma. And in the US, I looked into it. It was like, I don't know, $800 or something for like 3 it's nothing cheap. It's not a small amount for sure. And I just was thinking, well, what are they doing with all this plasma? Where is it going? So I don't know if it's going to people for their longevity or what it's for, but it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, yes, just a person under you. Okay, so under you in the Rejuvenation Olympics is Anonymous, but under Anonymous, the fourth place, Diane Ginsberg, and she's big on the plasma
Yeah.
transfusion
I
stuff.
listened to your interview with her, and I think she is the coolest person ever. That was your interview with her is what had me start taking it seriously, because I just was thinking plasma, like, that's just stuff I don't. And then it's like I was like, okay, well, there's there's obviously, like, she's a functional medicine doctor. It's not just like fluff. Like, let me take a look at what this is. So I'll take it more seriously, but I just know it's not something I can afford. So I don't, I'm not even gonna open that door. But at least I'm sure it's a viable thing if people have the money. Just not. I don't. So
My speculation on it is that this is great and this is a game changer, uh, assuming that people can bring down the price, of course. But there might be something there that people who have, like Brian Johnson, right? He did that, and he there was nothing that he experienced from that. So possibly that people who are in such a good head, like Brian Johnson or you, might not gaining anything out of it.
yeah, it could
That would
be.
be my speculation.
Yeah, very good. And I think I'd be curious to know, does it matter whose plasma you get? I mean, what if it's not from, I don't know. I don't know how they examine the plasma. Again, these are things that it's beyond me. And I'm not, I don't, I like to research more things that I can afford, and nutraceuticals. And so, I did the research on quercetin. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I should add it. Again, there's so much in Novos that it's kind of like, I don't really need to add a lot, but I just thought, well, let me try that and see if it's a very affordable supplement. I think it was like $20 for a couple months worth or something like that. It's not, and berberine, same thing. It's pretty affordable. So it's not going to break the bank or anything. But yeah.
Anyone on the Rejuvenation Olympics that you know?
Oh, so Dave Pasco and I have been talking. He reached out to me on Instagram. So we just chit chat, over messaging. And I did, after your interview with Diana, I reached out to her. I haven't heard back from her, but we're kind of hoping to all sort of talk. I know a lot of the Blueprint people talk. I'm on Reddit with the Blueprint group, but yeah, no, I don't know anybody personally that's on the board. Like even, Dave and I, whatever, we've messaged and we've talked, but that's about it. I wouldn't consider that I know him.
So my favorite section. We arrived to my favorite section.
Okay.
We are, as humans, are value-seeking creatures, and there is a very specific place where we can find value in each other, which is the place what's not that there is no consensus on, but some people know a lot about. So my question to you is, what is that you strongly believe to be the case, but very few people agree with you on?
Oh, this is going to sound so snotty, but bear with me here. Beauty. I think beauty is so, so important. And by beauty, I mean like truth, goodness, and beauty, not, forgive me, Kardashians, but not Kardashian kind of beauty, not the Instagram kind of beauty. I mean, the kind of beauty from when you read a beautiful poem and it touches your soul. I think there's a value in having beauty in your life, and whatever that looks like to you. To me, that is paintings, that's cooking, that's sharing a wonderful meal with my son. It is poetry. I read a lot, and I think that's really, really important. And I think in our society, we've shifted towards this social media beauty, or people do two things. They either go forward into that and they're in this, exterior beauty, or they say, I don't want anything to do with that. That doesn't matter. And then they forget all about it. I just think it's so important. It's like that soul giving aspect of like what people create. Like I'm not a poet, but I read poetry and it's just like, oh, it's so beautiful. And the things I create that are beautiful are meals. Like I absolutely love to cook. I cannot say this enough. Like I am so connected to food, and that's my connection to the earth. Like I live in a townhome in Arizona with no yard. I don't have a garden as much as I would love one. So we ferment foods, and I'm at the farmer's market, and that's my connection to the earth. And then bringing out whatever is the most beautiful, like how can I make a carrot taste like the most wonderful thing? Like that is so, so critically important to me and my life. And I feel like when I look around, the world has forgotten about that aspect of beauty. And they've either thrown it out, or they've gone into the social media version of, the plastic beauty. And with so many things, I mean, same thing with like religion. It's like, there's so much wrong with the Catholic Church. There's obviously all the awful things that happen to children, in care of priests and things. Absolutely horrible. But like, let's not throw the baby out with the bath. There's still a lot of beauty there. And for me, that's what's beautiful. Now, to other people, that beauty may be found in nature. Maybe like I feel the same way when I'm hiking the Columbia River Gorge. It's like I get so in awe. Like I remember the first time I saw the Grand Canyon, I actually cried. Like, and I just hate to sound, because I'm not, but there are certain times that you just get like so awed with beauty, and I feel like I see it and I experience it, and not a lot of people do, and I don't know how to, with the exception of like cooking for them, I don't know how to show them that this is a real, like, stop, this is important. Like, it's I don't want to say beauty is my religion, but it's a part of the practice of being spiritual, for sure.
Is beauty in the eyes of the beholder.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, the way I experience beauty is going to be very different than the way you experience beauty. For you, I mean, for somebody, it might be just an evening with their friends. Like, it's that those things that touch your soul. But I do think it does have something to do with creation. Like that, there's like somebody who writes poetry is going to create that poetry, and I am going to see that beauty, in that. That's just one example. I see the beauty in the food, and so I'm going to create that. And I hope that, I don't think anybody's going to be moved to tears by the things I cook, but like, I hope that it sets the stage for a beautiful evening, with each other and having a wonderful time together. I think artists, obviously visual painters, and I'm into modern art. I don't think it has to be like traditional art or anything like that. And same thing, nature. I mean, I think I have friends I know that that's their church, going out, they're snow skiing or something like that. Like, that's their place. But I don't want to say it's visual. I don't know if it's always visual, but it seems like there's something happening in the physical world that got created that we experience as beauty.
Is there a way people can give you money for goods and services?
I mean, I work, and I'll start something. I'm starting a Instagram, trying to get a little bit more serious on Instagram, and people have asked, like, YouTube channel or something like that, but I'm working it out. I'm just going slowly. So, but no, I'm just going to keep sharing what I'm doing with people in hopes that it helps us all become better humans.
Maybe one of the Bitcoin billionaire listening to this this episode will send you an order ring or something. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Send me an 8 sleep and a Nova ring. Sounds great.
Well, guys, you know what to do.
I've got Coinbase. I do have Bitcoin. I put $200 in my, that's something again, when my son is gone, I want to look more into that. It's very fascinating, that world. I love everything Bitcoin stands for, but don't get me started. I don't understand it well enough, so I don't want to put too much money into it, so.
There is only one thing you have to understand. No, there is many things, but this is the first thing. Not your keys, not your Bitcoins. Don't keep your money on Coinbase. That's just like a bank.
Good to know. Okay.
It's the most important, the first rule of Bitcoin. All right. Well, Julie, this was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.